What's going on YouTube? WildLion Games here. EA woke up the other morning and decided to drop the hammer on football gamers around the world with full information release and deep dive on franchise mode. A game mode that has been forgotten over the years as the developers for EA have moved on to new things like Ultimate Team. And last year, EA even gave us a bunch of franchise promises that it failed to deliver on, and features that would be added after Madden 22's initial release that never saw the light of day. So here we are about a year later, Madden 23's release is on the horizon, and for the first time in like a decade, I think I might be seeing the half glass full here. Madden 23 is looking at a complete overhaul to franchise mode, focusing primarily on free agency, scouting, and just finally revamping the whole UI UX design of the menu system within franchise mode, which I'm also really excited about. But what I'm most excited about is exploring the new player motivations feature that gives players their own desires and personalities. The college games have used this in the past. If you played NCAA 14, you're going to be very familiar with this. It's where you're recruiting players, and the recruits have different interest levels in your school that are influenced by things like proximity to home, school spirit, whether you're a championship contender or not, your coach. So for the first time in Madden, signing a player to your team involves more than just the amount of zeros in your contract. Your team's contention for a Super Bowl could play a factor, state taxes could come into play, or maybe this player's just looking to be at the top of the depth chart, and that's all it is. But in the end, it also could just come down to money no matter what. And this is one of the features I loved about recruiting in NCAA football, being able to use my school's strengths to persuade top prospects away from another school towards my school, and being able to see this in Madden and potentially take a player who's looking at one team and say, hey, you know what, these things that are important to you, my team has them, and now, scout them and hopefully sign them in free agency. Now, let me step back for a minute because I'm gonna play devil's advocate here. This is Madden after all. Last year Madden included weekly game plans for your team and scouting your opponents in franchise mode, and they were advertising that you could study your opponent's trends and form your game plan around that. And I ended up finding out pretty early on that it was all superficial. Look, here's what I had to say about that in Madden 22.
Through weekly game plan where we can see the opponent's tendencies, adjust our offense, adjust our defense, build a game plan accordingly, and build a strategy around that. I really enjoy doing that week to week. However, I highly recommend that you take the time to actually look at the scouting report and do your own strategy, because the game like Madden, it's just going to give you the same recommendation every week. Like you see here, week 1, outside run. Week 2, outside run. Week 3, outside run. It's the same recommendation every single week, even though when you go and look at the play calling tendencies for each of those teams, they're all different.
Free agency will also be broken down into 3 stages, and in the first stage, you can only offer up to 5 players, the second stage up to 10, and the third stage is unlimited. And they're putting this in to prevent you from just coming in and signing all the top free agents from right away. And there's going to be player evaluations that you're going to be allowed to have from week to week. And another thing I'm also excited about is this rollover cap. Basically, with the rollover cap, you'll be able to carry unused cap money from one year to the next. And I know this is a feature that fans have been asking for a while when it comes to franchise mode. So it's nice to see something like that added in. And they're also not done there. They're also making major changes to the draft process, adding some new legacy prospect templates, like generational prospects, boomer bust, and specialists. And, generational, it sounds exactly what you're thinking it is. They're very rare, but when they come into the league, they're going to be highly rated players, guaranteed X factor dev trait. The boomer bust type prospect is being called the high variance prospect, and it's basically just like a boomer bust situation. It's like a 50-50 toss up of them being normal or developing a superstar trait. And the trade logic is also going to see improvements, which I know it probably won't change the game a whole lot, but it's just going to be nice to see that, when you're looking to draft players and looking at your team needs, that, it's not going to show Jacksonville and the Jets as needing a quarterback because, Zach Wilson and Trevor Lawrence's ratings aren't super high. the game's like, hey, your team needs a quarterback, basically ignoring the fact that you just drafted a quarterback that year and you have a rookie and it's wanting you to draft another quarterback. So trade logic is improving, draft logic is improving, so I'm looking forward to seeing that. There's a ton of other minor changes to franchise mode that they're adding in, but personally, I'm just really looking forward to the type of prospect categories and their interests. That's what I'm really looking forward to, and I could definitely see the gamers who are into the fantasy draft franchises love all these new features. And I might even do a fantasy draft myself just to kind of build the team from scratch and rebuild the entire league from scratch, and then make my picks based off these player interests. And now with the cap space rollover, I think you can get really creative with how you choose to build your dynasty. And I have to say, after seeing all of this, in the first time in over a decade, I think I might be looking forward to checking out Madden for once. I mean, I really haven't been the last several years. I get on EA Access and I play the 10-hour trial of Madden just so I can put out content for my channel. But I don't ever really look forward to playing Madden. I've almost at this point lost hope and just been knowing that, it's just going to be the same game. Just going to be the same game, slightly upgraded graphics, and I don't really have any other sort of expectations. And for the first time reading the news on the franchise mode, I'm actually somewhat positive, and I'm interested to see how the game runs on the field, of course, and that's a whole different story. But this is EA, man. We're talking baby steps here with the progress. But I can't wait to get my hands on franchise mode and actually see these new features myself. And I'm actually hoping that they carry some weight to them, unlike last year's promises of making game plans and it just all being very frivolous. So and I say all this because I don't want to sit here and praise EA for doing something that they should have done 15 years ago. I mean, this is a legitimate step in the right direction, but franchise mode is still a shell of itself from the PS2 and Xbox original days. And it's a shame that we have to be really excited about these minor updates and fixes coming to franchise mode, because I mean, these are features in the game that should have been added in back when we made the advancement to the Xbox 360 and PS3 generation. I am happy to see that it's finally being done, and honestly, I am starting to think the releases of all these new indie football titles kind of has EA taking a look at their own game. And because it is, you got to think, I know they care about Ultimate Team, I know they just care about the money, but, and they're looking at these, indie title games as non-threatening, but at the same time, it's got to be embarrassing as a company that, you have, all these different indie games, like Legend Football that's made by one guy, Axis Football that's made by a very small team, Sunday Rivals, I think that was also made by one guy, but they have these features in their game that Madden doesn't even have in their own franchise mode, which is a multi-million-dollar business. And I do think that the consumers speaking with their pockets is starting to take effect. I mean, when you go and look at the sales numbers, Madden 22 sold 4.5 million copies, which sounds like a lot, but I did some research and I go and look at Madden 2005, 06, and 07, all sold over 5 million copies each. So that's more than 500k units sold in Madden 22. And when you just look at the general, not just units sold, but revenue that Madden has seen over the last few years, they've actually seen a decrease every single year in the last 3 Madden titles. So 2018 they peaked, 2019 was less than 2018, 2020 was even less, 2021 was even less. And it just keeps going down, and I think that they're starting to see that revenue's dropping and people are actually looking elsewhere. And so maybe this is a good thing. We've always said that competition's a good thing, and it's not always about just bashing Madden because it's EA, but really what we want to see is just competition in the market so that we can get the best football product. And that's what this is about, and I'm hoping that we see a good improvement with Madden 23 this year. I'm definitely going to check it out, as I always do. I'm going to hop on EA. Well, actually, EA Access is now a part of Game Pass. So I'm going to hop on Game Pass, play my 10-hour trial, and hopefully it's good enough that I decide to continue playing past that. But That's it for me, guys. I hope you enjoyed this video, and stay tuned to my channel for more updates on indie football games, backbreaker NFL rosters, Madden information. And if you like this video, give it a thumbs up and share it. Hope you enjoyed it. Until next time, peace.